Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange and the host who might be an astronaut. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I found in my travels aboard the International Space Station. Today I want to do something a bit different. I recently read two books, but both books were kind of bad, and I didn't want to make separate videos about them, just because that's too much negativity, and I just don't want to dwell on both books and be very angry for two videos, or not very angry, just not saying good things about them. And also, that'll allow me to get to Stoner faster, which I intend to read after this video ends, pretty much. The first book that I want to talk about today is Space Station Down by Ben Bova and Doug Beason. Kind of a generic cover that shows a light on the horizon of Earth. And it's fitting, I guess, but kind of unoriginal. This book does take place in space, and it's not very good, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why. First, just talking about the plot. This book is about a female astronaut, Kimberly Hadid Robinson, who is aboard the International Space Station. She is Japanese, Saudi Arabian American, a mixture of many things. Biracial is the proper term, multiracial. So she's on board the space station when two people come aboard, a Qatarian from Qatar, a Qatarian businessman, and a Kazakh spaceman, a cosmonaut from the Russian program, and they immediately start killing everyone on board. And so it's up to Kimberly to take out everybody on the space, or take out the terrorists on the space station, and also stop the Americans and the Chinese from blowing up the space station, because the terrorists want to crash the space station into New York City, and rain radioactive debris all over the East Coast. And America does not want that, so they're going to shoot down, break up the space station, and that'll be the end of the International Space Station. Because of Kimberly's actions, though, she manages to, avert that disaster and also take out the terrorists in the process. And I know you're thinking, gee, Mr. Nothing, with a plot like that, surely it's good, surely it's interesting. And I have to say, no, actually, it is not interesting. It is not good at all. This suffers from a strong problem with pacing. The terrorists come aboard, in the first 5 pages. And this book is 345-ish pages long. So what are they doing for the other 345 pages? There's only 2 terrorists on board. And the space station isn't that big. Surely Kimberly could take them out in half that amount of time. But the big problem is that this book is science focused. They equate it to Die Hard in some of the reviews on the back. But I don't know where. You'd think it'd be interesting like Die Hard, but that comparison only makes sense if Bruce Willis focused on guns and the physics of jumping out of buildings the entire time. Kimberly focuses a lot on moving the space station around and messing with the nodules and the nodes and all sorts of things like that, and very little time is spent actually fighting the terrorist, which I don't know, that could have been good. That could have been good if the pacing was better, but she just does some science stuff, and then, that last many pages where nothing seems to happen, and then she fights the terrorist and then runs away, and comes back, and then it diverts to mission control, and what's going on, with the president, and all kinds of mini chapters like that. So the pacing is not very good, and it really sinks the book, but, it could be saved by good characters and good character development, but the characters are very flat in this story, very one-dimensional. Pretty much the only thing they tell you about Kimberly is she's a diverse character, which I'm pretty sure they only tell you so they can justify having Middle Eastern terrorists as the villains. They're like, oh, we're not racist. Kimberly is diverse, so we're not. She's the good kind of Middle Eastern. Which is, bad there. I'm being sarcastic. And there's the other kind of good guy character in the story is Scott Robinson, her ex-husband, who were told that, like, they broke up because Scott didn't see her as an equal, but that doesn't really develop throughout the story. You don't get a sense for what Kimberly's past is at all. They give you a couple short chapters, but that's nothing. It doesn't give you enough to know who she is and why she's fighting and how she got the training to survive in space and stuff like that. And this extends to the terrorist characters because all you're given is that they're Middle Eastern and they snuck aboard into the space program in Russia, and they got to go to space, and now they're exacting religious violence upon America, which it would have been fine for a plot in 2005. But this is 2020, and it was hackneyed then, and it's hackneyed now. And I want more from my terrorist characters, other than they're Middle Eastern and they hate America. And they're not even effective. Like, Kimberly can easily escape them, and they seem to be constantly one-upped by Kimberly, and so there's never any sense of danger in the story. So yeah, and also the dialogue is bad. That's an issue too. What's surprising is this comes from an author, Ben Bova, who has a high pedigree in science fiction. He's won a lot of awards and he's very prolific. He's also in his 70s, so maybe he just doesn't have the skill that he used to. I'm not familiar with his previous work, so he may have never actually been any good. And then there's Doug Beason, who I'm pretty sure wrote a majority of the story, and Ben Bova only wrote a couple pages, just to get his name on there, and he's lending his name out there to newer, inexperienced authors. I didn't care for this book, and because of that, I'm not going to search out this author's other work because it just doesn't seem very good. And then the other book that I read is Princess in Training, the 6th Princess Diary book. We are so very near the end. The book was pretty good in the context of the series, which means it was barely passable. So the story in what's happening in Princess in Training is there's 3 things going on in Princess Mia's life. The first is that she dumped a bunch of snails into the Bay of Genovia. She did this because Monaco had previously dumped some killer algae in there, and it was starting to impact Genovia's fishing industry. Mia dumped a bunch of snails, which were known to fight off the algae, and but a lot of countries were upset with her because she introduced an invasive species, and it was just seen as a weird thing to do on her part. How she got approval to do that, given that she's a teenager, and how her father didn't know that she was doing that, it's a very big gap there. The issue with this is that you're finding about this after it happened, and it would have been fun to explore that story as it happened, but Meg Cabot didn't really care to do that. It's interesting because it shows the diplomatic side, and that's, I feel, what this series has been lacking, with Princess Mia actually doing princess things and as being a almost head of country. Eventually that gets resolved with everyone finding out that the snails were eating the algae and solving the problem. And so Mia is seen as the hero there. Another thing that's happening in the story is that Lily nominates Mia to be the student body president at her school. She's a sophomore now, and Michael is now in college, which I have an issue with, college people dating high school people, but I'm gonna ignore that for now. Mia was nominated. She's kind of horrified by this because she feels she lacks confidence. However, throughout the story, it's shown that she is confident, and she has a skill with public speaking that she doesn't lean on because she has that self-doubt going on. Her grandmother gets word of this and instantly interferes, as is grandmother's tradition, being very manipulative and trying to convince her to run. And her opponent is Lana, and Lana is super popular. So Mia's just like, I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. Grandmother and Lily work together to create advertising and campaign material where they refer to her as Princess in Training, hence the name of the title. But Mia's like, I don't want to be known as that. That's not who I am. And so on election day, Mia and Lana both give speeches where Lana's like, I'm going to make all these unrealistic promises, and Mia's like, there's a lot that we can do that often doesn't get done that benefits the students, and I want to do those things. And she gives a very passionate speech that basically ends with give me anime or give me death, which is hilarious. Kind of bizarre, and I guess read it for that reason alone. And yeah, so Mia is Mia ends up becoming student body president, but Lily only did this so Mia would eventually drop out, and now Mia doesn't want to drop out anymore. She wants to be president because she has that self-confidence now. Then the last thing that happens in this story is, Michael's in college, so there's a bit of a difficulty with communication going on. But they eventually have a talk about sex and how Michael is interested in pursuing that side of the relationship, making their relationship more physical. Mia is a bit unsure. She doesn't want to feel pressured into doing it. She knows she loves Michael, but she's not. She's not ready to engage in sex. Which I like about this story. You're showing the character thinking about it and being unsure about it, and she's coming to the decision on her own. Although it does seem like Michael is pressuring her, and this seems to be an issue with the story where Michael has an established character at the very beginning of the series, but Meg Cabot is slowly altering it to make Michael seem more piggish than he was before, and boys are only interested in one thing, and it's like you didn't establish this character like that at the beginning of the series. So why are you changing his character now, just to meet your ends? It's bad writing on her part. Ultimately, they decide, no sex right now, but they will revisit the issue later in the future because Michael is determined to advance their relationship, and Mia also wants that. She does, but she's not sure she wants it now. And I like it, given that this series is for teenage girls, I think that's a great message to send. Don't allow yourself to be pressured into sex. Don't make sure that you're ready when you're ready. So that's a good message. Ultimately, I find this series to be this book in particular, it's a turning point for the series. It feels like where it feels more mature, and Meg Cabot is actually trying now. But I said that about previous books, and none of that ever stuck. Mia is a blank slate at the beginning of each book, where any character development that happened before is no longer present now. And so I worry that's just going to happen in Princess Diaries 7. Not a fan of that. I think that kind of weakens my enjoyment because I know it's just going to all go away, and you're not going to have the confidence or the ability that Mia shows in this story. There wasn't much that was wrong per se with the story. I will say something interesting is that at one point Mia's new English teacher tells her that she has a confident writing ability, but she seems to think that filling her story with humor and random pop culture references will make her a better writer, when in fact she should be focusing on her skill and telling a coherent story. And I just laughed at that because it's come on, Meg Cabot, you're talking about yourself and you don't even realize that you're talking about yourself. That's got to be acute self-awareness, but refusing to ever change, because Meg Cabot drops pop culture references and uses humor as what I'm beginning to see as a crutch in place of confident, coherent writing. That's an issue, but at least she's aware of it, or maybe not aware of it, and that's troubling. In both stories, I'm not a fan of. I wouldn't recommend Princess in Training just because it's the sixth book of the series, and the series is getting pretty blah. No real reason to read past book 1, in my opinion. And then with Space Station Down, the book is kind of boring, kind of bland, wastes its interesting premise, and is not notable. I'll forget about it within a week. And I only really checked it out because it was at random. Like it was in the new collection at the local library. Don't forget to patronize your local libraries. And I figured, why not check it out? It couldn't hurt. It has an interesting plot. But as I'm beginning to find, checking books out at random is a bad strategy at my local library, because I'm hitting more misses, or there are more misses than there are hits in my experience. Those are my thoughts on the Friday reads, the Princess in Training and Space Station Down. If you have anything to say about these books, if you read them before, feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you, and we can have a discussion about space or princesses, whatever you want. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people may find out about these books and may peruse it at their own risk. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Around the Weird so that we can talk about pop culture and books and ice cream and all that fun stuff. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and princessy travels. Farewell.